Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy Cal, and for today's video, we are going to be traveling back into an idea that I started a few months ago, in which I decided to start or craft an original conceptual design and idea for an original team that I was doing, in which y'all will know that I am talking about my Omniversal Academy. Today, we are going to be doing the second part to that. Not really a second part, but we're going to be doing another segment included into that when it comes to the recruitment season type of videos that we do in terms of who we are going to be bringing into the academy. Because the whole idea behind it was, if you guys read comics, you will know that there are often a whole bunch of franchises that deal with a lot of their characters coming into their own, or trying to find a family, or trying to find out how to handle their powers, or going through training and stuff. And I always felt like that was a good idea when it came to certain people, when it came to the fictional world. Rather, you have magical capabilities or elemental capabilities, or you were just learning how to fight or whatever. I always thought a training academy would be cool. One, so you can learn how to hone your skills, but two, so you can also have a place where you belong, feel safe, feel at home, or where you can just get to know the ins and outs of the world that you are now a part of, right? And while some of those schools, well, for most of the part, most of them deal with teaching heroes, my Universal Academy doesn't really touch on the hero or the villain side of things. It's more of a school where you learn, you learn. Whatever happens is based off of you, your circumstances, and situations, and whatever else, right? So I wanted to dig into that a little bit more. The reason I haven't really touched on it since the first video that I done is because, like I said, this isn't like a concept that it's a concept that's known, but it's a concept that I am merging through different franchises and universes that I want to make my own in a way where it's unique and different. So I want to plan it out adequately, where I'm doing different boards, different staffings, and the such, right? And while the first video touched on our leadership board, I think the way that I'm going to do it is like for every staffing board, after I do a staffing board, then I will do a video where I select certain members that will make up the student body, then go on about doing more staffing in the body, then the board and the body, and stuff like that. So you can see the different type of people I have teaching these students, or the kids that will be interacting with the students, or the type of people who will be involved in the academy. As far as like things such as the explanation of how the academy works, like the classes and everything, I will go through the classes and who teaches them in the videos. But if you want to like learn more about how the classes will work, or how people will rise through the program, or the ins and outs of it, I'm thinking I may do those type of details within like an article piece that I will connect to these videos that y'all can find on my Substack and my Focal and stuff. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna do that or not. Right now, I'm just in the process of picking out the students and the boards members that will focus on each video. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Like I said, the first video that I done was focused on the leadership board, part of the staffing that's for more or less part of the administration board, like the head of mentorship, the head master, and all of that. Well, it seems that I've already done one of the staffing boards. That means for today's video, we are going to be picking out our first set of students. Now, like I said, when I say our first set of students, this is like a conceptual thing based on my own rights. So it's not going to be like the founding students, like this is the students who made the school or who founded the school or whatever. It's just going to be in a way where they're like the first students that I'm picking up within this academy to focus on, because throughout all the different franchises, you can say that more or some of them are trained, but more or some of them can use more training, or use a home, or use they do whatever the case may be. there are a lot of characters that I've used or that I have grown accustomed for that I really want to use, but I feel like due to their age or their circumstances or how they see their powers and stuff, that I can't really put them on a actual team that I will put together for like a mission or something like I usually do. So I was like, okay, so the best place for them with their aging and everything, we'll probably put them in an Omniversal Academy where they can, you know, possibly develop and grow more in a way where we don't see that in the story or show where they're usually depicted in. And then through our own narrative lens and our own headcanon, that growth and development, we could possibly see them in a way where they've developed so much or matured so much or whatever that eventually, if they were to ever do this like concept in a real book or in a real show, they would be fairly adequate enough to then join a respectable team or whatever. But like I said, today we're just gonna be focused on our first set of students that I'm gonna be picking out, students that I think are good that I want to use. Like I said, it's not really the founding core member students, like the ones who make up the team or who are responsible for creating the idea of the school or whatever. They're just the first set of students that I am picking for this draft. And the way I'm doing my student drafts, like I said, throughout all of the different franchises, there's a whole bunch of characters that I think could use more training or whatever the case may be, right? But like I said, in my first video, this is going to be like if you took Althea, the Xavier Learning Institute, Jean Grey Student Institute, Hogwarts, Camp High Blood, Camp Jupiter, Vintage Academy, whatever the case may be, all in one, right? There's no particular reason on saying that, hey, you're a failure or you need help. It's always about like getting training or learning training or just being a part of a home or family. It's like a student. It's like a school, just like the Xavier School is, but it's also a home. It's a boarding school. It's a home and stuff like that. And when it comes to like those type of ideas that we see, sometimes with like Camp Half Blood, if you're a kid all the way to like a teenager, you'll probably stay and then you'll go to college or whatever, right? But with the Xavier Institute, we know that some of the X-Men stay way old past after they graduate. Some students are even older and stuff like that. So there's really no age limit or real any defining range for the students there who will be needing training or whatever. Because in my mind, I feel like you never know what is going to happen for you to be pulled into this role, right? Like you may be born with powers. Your genes may activate when you're a teenager or when you're in puberty. You may be experimented on. You may be part of a murder assassination that connects you to the world. And if you're brought in your 30s or whatever, you never know. I mean, hey, it could be a case where no matter how much training you have, you could never be safe outside of the academy. Or the academy is the only home you ever knew or felt comfortable at. Or it may be a case where you stay there and even after you graduate, you become a part of staff and still decide to stay there. It's whatever the case may be. Like I said, you never know. There's so many different type of scenarios that you could see for somebody either just going to the school for training part-time and living on the outside world or staying there full-time and receiving training or whatever the case may be. So I don't want to put like a particular age range on it or anything. But when it came to me doing the grouping of students that I've chosen today, or for the most part, any type of students I'm doing, the ones that I am pulling, I try to stick to a particular dynamic. If that makes sense. Like, how each of the boards and departments that I am doing stick to a particular aesthetic. Like the leadership board dealt with guidance and leadership and control and all that. Well, the board that I'm choosing, that I tried to group them in a particular category that will keep them within the same range of their peers, but will still seem very much so as if there was no definitive reasoning for them to be recruited or sought out or whatever the case may be. And with that being said, today's student board, like I said, is going to be the first members that we are picking out. But the type of dynamic we are picking today are students who are just way too young at first. Way too young due to their age. And because of their age and they're not having no control of their powers, they're either a safety risk to themselves or to others, or their age is already a problem. They have like no parental oversight, or they're already targeted because of their age. This group is about kids who are young, emotional, need. They're not even ready to be developed. They're not ready to be trained as students yet. So the students that we're putting today are the group that is going to be seen more as kids first and then students later. But first, right now, in their early ages, we're worried about giving them a home and safety and stuff today. So those are the type of students we are going to be doing today. Now, like always, this is going to be part of my recruitment season video, which means no more rules apply. And of course, because it's an Omniversal pool, that means that ideally, I want to use one character from each of the universes, but at most, two particular characters from any particular universe at a time, even though there will be more boards where we pull from the same universe, but it gives us more of a chance, more variety to each type of video that we do. Also, you know that we only do up to 5 or 7 members at a time. Today, we're only doing 7 students. And when I tell you these students, I'm going to tell you why I recruited them, where they came from exactly, and I'm gonna try to find a way to talk about like how the leadership board interacts with them, and then I'm gonna try to explain into detail like their progression or how I'm gonna set up my classes and stuff afterwards. Do them, even though my classes aren't really based off of the students I'm bringing in. My classes are gonna be based off of just the things that we usually see within the world of fiction, magical capabilities, elemental capabilities, combat, and stuff like that. But either way it goes, each of the students will be, you know, you see that they'll be able to connect to each of the classes in some way or form or another. Or or you'll be able to figure out like what type of learning direction they'll be heading to. So with that being said, we're going to get right into the video. And like I said, for today's grouping, we're going to focus on the aging that is between the ages of 5 years old and 12. Because I feel like between 5 and 12, those are people that are just way too young to be worried about training or whatever the case may be. 12, you can start training, maybe 10. But from 5 to like 8 or 9, I don't feel like you should be training. Your first thing should be more about safety or just, growing up and having fun. So for you to have all this pressure about learning how to use your powers and stuff, it's a lot to take a hold on. And we know that there are some younger students that are under 5 year olds who somehow end up in this world. Of course, we'll be recruiting them, but I couldn't really think of any at the time right now for this video. So like I said, our first set of students will start at the age of possibly 5 or 6 years old. And with that being said, the first student that we are going to recruit is going to be the character of Shelby. And Shelby comes from the Rick Riordan Kane Chronicles series. Shelby was a young magician, right? And she's one of the youngest recruits that were recruited into the 21st Gnome in the Kane Chronicles. Basically, her story goes in where Apophis was rising, right? And so the Canes put out a call for all magicians saying that, hey, we're training magicians, the world is ending, we need help. Basically, the way it's described in the story is that her parents were like, hey, you need magicians. My daughter has the blood of the pharaohs. My daughter has magic. Here you go. They weren't worried about her safety or training or nothing. It's assumed that you could say that they were worried about Apophis coming after her, or some of the gnomes coming after her and training her or whatever, or her being in danger because magic was off the rails or whatever. But anyway it goes, for you to just send your 6-year-old daughter who has no comprehension of anything that's going on with all of this magical capability and just send her off to these people who you really don't know, who have been seen as criminals by your magical government, it's kind of absurd. It's kind of wild. So we're going to put her in the academy for her own safety. We're going to put her in the academy for her own safety and to help her grow up, as well as keeping an eye on her powers. And to be more frank and blunt with y'all, also because of the fact that I think that our leadership board, with everybody that we have on it, are more capable and responsible of being guardians than her parents were. I mean, I just think that as guardians, they would fail, and our leadership board could be more acceptable and efficient for the guardianship role when it comes to Shelby. Because the way it's explained to us is that because she's so young, she has no control of her powers. Her powers in her age collides with her emotions and her imagination. She could draw something and that drawing will come to life. Or if she's happy or sad, she'll wave a crayon and the crayon will shoot sparks or whatever. So we're going to pull her in because at that age, not only is she a danger to herself with all that magical capabilities being connected to the blood of the pharaohs and everything, but you know, it's often seen within these stories that like once you know that you have powers, or once your powers awaken, demons and all of these things are coming after you. So we're going to do it for her safety as well from the outside world, but also because it's just like it's absurd that people just push her off to us. So we're going to put her in a place where we can actually watch her and keep progress of her growth and development while watching her powers and possibly finding a way to help her learn how to control it and temper it. And plus, at that age, she's very impressionable. So it's better to catch her now than later. So the first person we are going to pull is Shelby from the Rick Riordan universe in the King Chronicle series. And while we are talking about Rick Riordan, after Shelby, the next student that we are going to enroll into the academy is going to be another Rick Riordan character, but instead of pulling from the King Chronicle series and some of that's tied to the Egyptian lore, we are going to be going to the Heroes of Olympus / Trials of Apollo series and looking at someone who is tied to the Greek side of that narrative. And we are going to be pulling the son of Hephaestus, the son who is named Harley. Now, Harley is usually seen to be a camper at Camp Half-Blood, and if I am remembering correctly, it is said in his story or in the stories that he appeared in that he is 8 years old. Now, we all know that when it comes to the Camp Half-Blood world, once you know that you're a demigod, monsters are coming after you and everything, such like that, right? And we know that apparently there's so much energy and monster in the world of the Western civilization that a lot of demigods don't survive. One, because they're integrated all throughout the mortal society. And two, you have all of these different things taken into account. So Harley is already in danger. Now, he's in as much of a danger as someone who may be like the son of Zeus or like the son of Ares or whatever. I'm not sure. But seeing that he's still only 8 years old, we're going to pull him in for his own safety from the demons and the monsters in the outside world, but also because Harley is described and seen to be very energetic and very full of hyperactive energy. And when you add that on top of the fact that he's a demigod, and most demigods have ADHD, being the son of Hephaestus with ADHD capabilities and hyperactive energy, that's just a cause for all types of problems because your mind is already constantly at work breaking down machines and wondering how you can improve them, or wondering what type of machine will it be if you screw this together or take this apart or if you arrange this mechanically. And that can have all types of consequences. You can make a bubble bath machine into a bomb. You could turn a bomb into a world destroyer. You can do so much things with it. So for you to be an ADHD kid with hyperactive energy with that type of brain, I think it's only right for you to be brought into this training facility. One, so we can keep an eye on you and make sure that you're tampered mentally, or at least you have some type of discipline, growth goal tied to you. But at the same time, like I said, you're already young and you're already being chased by monsters and everything. And I can't remember or not if it said that he's an all around camper. I think he is. Seems that he's like the youngest camper that Camp Have Blood has. So we're gonna put him there for his own safety, just like Shelby as like a ward of the school, but also to help his developmental progression and add some type of discipline and maturity to him while trying to bring some calmness into his life as well. So, like I said, the next person we are going to add into the academy as our student for this draft is going to be the son of a Festus Harley. Now, while there are other children or other people who I feel will be good as students within the different stories that Riordan has written, I am only going to pull those two for now because of the fact that I feel like those other people, whether they be younger or older, will fit better in a different group and dynamic. And because of the fact that even though they're from different series, they're still technically all part of Rick Riordan's catalog of characters. So we're going to take that in the sense of them being two characters from the same universe. So instead of pulling another Rick Riordan character for this draft, we're going to take the chance to go into our other universes. And this is where we will start pulling one person from each of the said universes. In the first universe we were going to look at is the Marvel universe. And we were going to pull the character of Tildy Soames. Now, for the person who does not know who Tildy Soames is, if you have ever seen the Wolverine and the X-Men show, Tildy was that little girl that was in the custody of the MRD, and that Juggernaut got a hold of and put the control chip on her. That's her. But if you haven't seen that show, and if you've read the first volume of Josh Whedon's Astonishing X-Men, she's the girl who they used to invent the gear. And according to Marvel, she's about 7 or 8 years old. So she fits this dynamic perfectly because of the age, but also because of the fact that Tildy, when she first got her powers, first of all, she's a mutant. So she's already in danger because, one, she's young. And no matter how young you are, or what the case may be, there's people within the Marvel Universe who just hate mutants. They're willing to hunt them down, lock them up, constrict them, kill them, whatever the case may be, no matter if you're a child or not. So she's already in danger. But because of the fact that when her powers emerged, she accidentally ended up killing her family, she's also an orphan. She doesn't have anybody looking after her, and she ended up being, taken into, I wouldn't say custody, but she ended up being taken into by the science department and being exploited for the use of making a cure or making weapons towards the cause of wiping out or getting rid of the mutants. So we're going to pull her in to the academy for her own personal safety because, like I said, she technically has no one watching out for her. She has no family. So she's going to be our second official ward, just like Harley is. And of course, that means she will be staying at the academy full time. But also because of the fact that she definitely control over her powers. Like I said, she's young. So her powers are only not just manifesting, but she has no control over them. And for the type of power she has, I feel like you need to have somewhere where she can be safe, or where people can be safe from her, or where she can learn to use her powers. Because she basically is able to manifest monsters from her nightmares and control them, right? And seeing as how she's young and already rattled with trauma, and she's a mutant being chased by the purifiers or the reavers or the sentinels, or she's experiencing any other thing that may have happened within her universe. That's a lot of pressure and a lot of fuel for you to constantly have nightmares. And when you're young, you already really can't control the state of which you sleep or what happens in your sleep. So she's very impressionable. So we're gonna take her in for the fact that she has nobody. So we're gonna make her a water state and a full-time student. She's young, and the fact that she needs to have safety from being exploited or used as a weapon. And we need to also keep her safe and help her learn how to control her powers, or at least monitor her emotional and mental state. So the third person we are going to put into our student body is going to be Tildy. Now, for the fourth person we are going to pull, we are going to jump into the Avatar: The Last Airbender / Legend of Korra universe, and we are going to pull the character of Milo. Now, Milo was one of the youngest characters within that show, and out of all of the younger characters, like specifically when it comes to Tenzin's children, Milo was the most interesting one. He was the most interesting, the most fun, and I felt like the most favored. Not within the family, but the ones favored throughout the fan base. Now, as opposed to everybody else that we have recruited on the team so far, Milo actually already has some type of training. He has training, and he's been known to be a part of his world and has some information and people who can guide him and everything. And he has a family to watch after him. So we're not really worried about him being a ward or being a full-time student. He'll be like a part-time student getting training, because he can still use more training. He's young. He can learn how to hone his skills a little bit better, or learn more about things he can implement into his lifestyle, like fighting styles or history and everything. But the reason we're going to add him up here is because Milo is a wild card. Milo, despite him being a legacy character and having control and training, he's loud, he's impulsive, he's full of energy. So he needs to be given some type of direction. He needs some form of discipline and structure. And plus, seeing as how there wasn't really much of a younger nation of air nomads for him to be around, and he's been around his family all his life, or the fact that his dad was always, being a part of Republic City's council and everything, he really doesn't have much of an interaction without them being pertained to his family. So this gives him the opportunity to grow and learn, while also possibly getting some type of maturity and structure, and possibly gaining some type of direction. Because unlike his sister, Janora, she has direction. And Iki's is bland. Like, she's blah. But Miko has a lot of personality. And if it's used or aimed correctly, it could be a very good thing. But if he's used or ends up being easily influenced or manipulated in a negative manner, all of that energy and no direction could be very troubling. He can get into a lot of trouble. So we're going to add him up here, mainly for him to get some type of discipline and structure and more of a outer world type of education. Plus, he fits the aging of the grouping According to what I looked up, Milo was about 5 years old within the first season of Legend of Korra, right? And according to what I looked up through all the other character researches, like for instance Bowen, he was like 15, 16, 17, season 2 and 3, and then he was like 20 in season 4, which means approximately 5 years have jumped. So taking Milo at his oldest account through that type of information will put him right there at 9 or 10 years old. So this will be perfect for him. So like I said, the fourth person within our student board is going to be the character of Milo. Now, when it comes to the fifth character we are going to put up here, the fifth character we are going to put up here is going to be the character of Sam from Power Rangers SPD. Now, I know what a lot of y'all are saying, right? Sam, he's already a ranger. He became a ranger and all of that. He grew up and all that. To me, quite frankly, I would prefer to see a version of Sam that we have received within the first uh, few episodes of the season where he was younger and Z ran into him. Because once he became a ranger, he was always stuck in a suit. And we know why they did. They didn't want to keep adding people to the budget. But in that suit, he was whack to me. He was a whack ranger. We didn't know much about him. There was no real definitive type of personality that he had. He seemed to only be able to use his morpher and skills to one hand. He was able to turn to a ball. But what happened with him where he was feeling like an outcast, or where he was hated and called a freak and felt different, or where monsters kept trying to get to him, or the fact that it was assumed that he didn't have no family, or at least that he didn't have no family or anyone that he belonged to that was mentioned or that was alluded to. Or what about the fact that he's one of those kids who was part of the last generation who got experience on? Or what about the fact that when he got into the SPD Academy, he went through all of that training to become a ranger? I want to know what happened. I want to see that type of progression. So I'm going to put him there for that reason. Outside of the fact that, again, it wasn't said, but it was assumed that he didn't really fit anywhere or have no family. So, assuming that he didn't, he's going to be another full-time student in another ward of the school. Um, but this is more about him. Like, he has some type of control over his powers, but I feel like at that age, you can learn more about the world you're in. Plus, you're surrounded by aliens and the rangers and all that. You can learn some type of all of the different skills you're going to need in the future for the environment you're in. Learn how to use your powers better. Learn how to learn of all the ways and applications that can be used, and try to find a place of belonging. So we're going to put Sam up here as well. And Sam, I would give him like 7 to 9 tops. 9 tops, 7 the youngest. So he fits here as well. So we're going to put Sam up here for the 5th member of our student board. Now for the 6th member of our student board, we're going to pull Oliver Grayson, the son of Omni-Man, from the Image Comics universe in the Invincible TV show / comic book. Oliver is not going to be a full-time student, yeah. But, like, is he going to be a student who stays at the academy? I don't think he has to be, especially seeing that his mom, or his stepmom, for better terms, Debbie, works at the school and is also one who watches and raises him. But the reason he's there is because, first of all, he's young, but his aging is kind of complicated because it's like he ages fast, right? Because of his physiology. But it's depicted for him to be at least 7, at most 9. So he fits. But one, we know that based off of the Invincible comics and the TV show, he's already a target because of the fact that the village might see him as imperfect or a breeding mishap due to the fact that he wasn't bred with someone who was close to his species. So he's already hunted and a threat to the Vegemite society. So he's already being targeted. So that's one. Two, he's a risk factor due to his aging and the powers he has, with the fact of the knowledge that knowing that he is a Viltrumite and most Viltrumites are dangerous, and his father was a borderline villain. So the school really wants to watch after him, help him hone his powers, but also keep him in control or try to put ethics and stuff into him, because you would know that if you read the comics or watch the show, he is already very impressionable, but impressionable in a way where he's more of a it's more of a negative impression that people put on him that he enforces with a positive manner. He has this utilitarian, not utilitarian, but this darker, pessimistic way of handling things. So I feel like you will want to watch after him or try to guide him in the right path. Now, like I said, if you become a villain, you become a villain. You become a hero, you become a hero. But because of the fact that he's already aging rapidly, he's super powerful with mixed DNA. He's a biological factor, but mentally, he's also a factor that can be a trouble factor. So we're gonna put him over here as well for that reason. And like I said, seeing that Debbie works at the school, she could easily help him get integrated into school and everything. But I don't think he has to stay there. I mean, he can if he wants, or if she thinks it's better. But he doesn't have to be like a ward of the school like the others might have to be. And for today's final student board draft pick, we are going to choose the character of Christen. Now, Christen is from the Blackthorn Hunters Academy White Worlds book series. And in this series, she is a demon hunter slash half demon. So she's already in trouble and a threat because most people see the supernatural in this world as bad people. No matter if you're a werewolf, a vampire, or a witch, or whatever, a lot of the people within the right world universe has this view on the supernatural, no matter how you were raised, what you do with your abilities, or what type of supernatural creature you are, that you're automatically evil. So a lot of them are already hunting after her, trying to kill her, right? But the fact that she is also a demon hunter, there's already demons coming after her, and the fact that she's the princess daughter of the demon king, she's already a target. One, she could be seen as a risk factor because you never know if she's going to side with her father or not. But two, seeing that she's the daughter of a demon, you never know how her father's going to go after her. But outside of all of those different reasonings, it is said in the series that she is 12 years old. She has no parental figure watching after her. I mean, sure, she has older siblings who we will touch on in another video, but her older siblings aren't legal, right? They're all watching each other with no legal guardianship because her mom was killed. Their mom was killed. So there's no type of parental or guardian ownership or oversight over these girls. So that's one. So we have another person who needs to be a ward of the academy and brought in for their protection as well as their age. But also because of the fact that she is also seen in the stories to not really have a grasp of who she is, what she is, the world around her, or her powers. She has no real training. She's been using her powers on a whim. And for you to be a half demon and stuff with all that power inside you with no real understanding or training of what's going on, and for you to be rattled with emotion and trauma and responsibility because you're alone and basically helping raise your own self and your sisters, that's a lot. So we're gonna put her up there for her own safety, to make her water state, and for her own training purposes. And she's gonna be the oldest person up here on the team because she's 12 as opposed to everybody else who is like ranging from the age of 5 to like 9. And I feel like with her being the oldest person up here, she's like, not only is she gonna be like leader of this group if they were to like to have any interaction or dynamic as a group within itself, but this would kind of help her come into her own and mature a little bit. Like, it will show her sisters or everybody else that see what little direction and a little guidance these kids can be responsible. These kids aren't always a danger. They have some direction. They're needed as much as we need them. They watch out for each other just like we're watching out for them. The first thing first is their kids and then their students. But between all of that, they need a family. And I feel like with that type of dynamic, that's what you would see. So like I said, we're gonna add Christen here as well. So yeah, you guys, those are the 7 members that I have pulled for the first set of my student board when it comes to my Omniversal Academy of Ascension. Going in order, again, we have 5-year-old or 6-year-old, depending on when you look at it. Shelby from the RECRUITMENT Kane Chronicle series. We have Harley, who is 8, from the RECRUITMENT Trials of Apollo and Heroes of Olympus series. We have Tildy from the Marvel Universe. We have Milo from the Legend of Korra universe. I'm sorry, Tildy, who was 8, and Milo, who was 9. We have Sam, who I would give 7, the youngest, 9 at the most, from Power Rangers SPD. We have Oliver, who I would give 9 from the Image Comics universe in the Invincible show and series. Then we have Christen from the Blackthorn Hunter Right World Academy series. And those are the students that we have chosen for our Foundation 7 or our Founding 7 students. Even though, like I said, they're not the ones who like helped come up with the idea or whatever, but you know what I mean. Now, like I said, I will try to explain how the board interacts with these students. Well, for starters, the headmistress, Molly, of course, she brings everybody in. She keeps all their stuff organizes and make like their enrollment, like when it comes to them being wards or students official. But when it comes to like their mentoring, headed off by Chiron, it's going to be a mentorship more in the ways of them finding mentors or figures who can watch and guide them in a guardian manner for the wardenship, or in a manner where their mentoring is more about the expansion of their mind in a way where they can start to see the world in different types of viewpoints that they can understand. Now, because these are kids who are underage for the most part, they're not really able to make decisions on their for themselves. And if they are, they're not decisions that are valuable or valid. So when most of the decisions are made, they don't have a lot of autonomy to them. So when it comes to like the role of Sally Jackson and being a student advisor, her advisement for this group in their aging as of now will be more towards advising their mentoring and stuff connected to them on what's the right way and how they should be growing up, or what's the right manner in things that they should be participating in and everything. For Alaric's part, when it comes to the disciplinary side of things, it's more about teaching them right from wrong or keeping them under control and teach them that actions have consequences, but give them consequences that they can understand or that aren't too harsh for their aging. For Black Canary in her therapy, it's more about tracking how they are doing emotionally instead of actually like analyzing it, tracking their emotional development, how their feelings and stuff are being, you know, distributed and everything. And then when it comes to like the Debbie's role being the liaison, for the ones who are staying there, she's the one who's keeping them in check and keeping track of all of their records and stuff, or making sure that they're integrated in a way where they are safely secure, just like Molly is when it comes to being a ward. But for the ones who are going back and forth, they're making sure that they understand the ins and outs of the academy like she would usually do. So yeah, you guys, that is the type of impact the leadership board will have on these group. Um, but as far as like their dynamic in itself, like I said, it's gonna be more about growing trust and becoming friends and becoming a family. Um, Learning boundaries or just stuff like that. There's gonna be heavy supervision. This is the group that definitely needs it because of their aging and because of everything that they're going through. Outside of that, like I said, these are the students who are untrained or unstable, or just for the most part don't have anyone watching out for them, and they're young. So the main focus for this group is about protection and, like I said, giving them a place where they can feel safe and belong. Now, like I said, our classes don't really have anything to do with our students. They're just the classes that you would normally need or see when it comes to the worlds of this type of concept. But based off of the characters you see that we have in this draft, you could probably imagine the type of classes that we are eventually going to add. Elemental basics, some type of ethics and philosophy or morality class, maybe combat, some myth type classes, history, space law, and stuff like that. But yeah, you guys, like I said, that is the first group of our student body for my Omniversal Academy. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about these characters, if y'all ever ran into them within any of the book series or TV shows that I have mentioned. Who is your favorite? What is your least favorite? Who are some other students that you think I should put into this academy? What type of dynamic or concept do you think I should attach to the next group? What other ideas do you think I should add to this academy in terms of like putting together a board or a team? What type of information do you think I should put into the articles when it comes to this academy and all of that good stuff? But until then, y'all know what it is. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Deuces.